We'll reach the top somehow.
Yes, my straight dog family, whatever my mind conceived, that I will achieve. You hear that theme song, and you know it's time for me to say, good night, St. Kitts, good night, Caribbean, and good night to the world. As a matter of fact, I can say good morning and good afternoon to the world, because on the World Wide Web, we do have petitions and divisions all over the diaspora, and I can say good night, good morning, or good afternoon, because some of you are in Africa. My friends in the UK who stay up past midnight to keep in touch and to ensure that you get the current position and the factual position of what's happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I have my friends and family all over Europe as well, in Africa and in Asia, and surely a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to extend one of such greetings, because I know one of them would be applicable. I can say as well a special greeting to those of you joining me for the first time. And in the process, though, I must thank Almighty God for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you, my Straight Talk family, in conversation on yet another occasion. And my Straight Talk family, I want to apprise the first timers that this program is a public service program that facilitates and promotes all issues of national interest, be they technological, be they social, be they economic, and or political and other issues. Straight Talk is a forum on which we can express our views freely. We try to raise the level of national consciousness in the process, and we remind you, of course, of your obligations as well as your responsibilities. My Straight Talk family, tonight I am going with your input. I wish to invite us all to discuss our Citizenship by Investment program, the CBI as it's called, and we're going to look at Whither, Goeth, our CBI. We do as well look at our observations and review, which is a time when we highlight issues. In the process, we do some reflection. Then we can ask a few questions. You know, what has or what was accomplished? Has it helped others? What has changed since we last had our observations in review? And what can be expected? Also, what next we have learned? What new, rather, we have learned as a people. And in our first observation, I still want to highlight the peace initiative, because lots of matters still remain unresolved. And I want to implore those in authority to stop talking, stop criticizing, and find some resolution to the issues. There are quite a lot of fake news going around. There are lots of news on social media as well. I am normally extremely wary. I'm extremely cautious in dealing with those news because I always like to bring you the facts here on Straight Talk. But as 7 minutes past 8 o'clock hour, I invite us to consider our CBI program. As I said, our caption tonight, Whither, Goeth, our citizenship by investment program. And the concept of buying a passport or getting a passport through investment, it's a straightforward process. And citizenship by investment programs are helping to build critical infrastructure around the world, including airports, hospitals, and sustainable housing projects. There's one such project here, one such infrastructure project here in St. Kitts that's still being talked a lot about. That is the correctional facility, or as we say in colloquial parlance, the prison. One example of another critical infrastructure project is in the Commonwealth of Dominica, which recently announced the construction of its first international airport, funded largely by the money it will generate or expects to generate by its popular citizenship by investment program. There are media reports that Dominica's Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, confirmed the signing of an agreement for the construction of that international airport on the northeast coast. The pictures reveal, however, that there was a conspicuous absence of the Prime Minister and his cabinet. There seem to be some issues with the construction project consultant, Montreal Management Consultant Establishment, MMCE, who have been granted the construction project after at least some 8 international companies, we are advised, presented the application for the job. There's a Chinese actually doing that project as well in Dominica. But the MMCE, as I said, will use funds from the CBI there in Dominica, and we understand that the sketches, the airport plans and so on are going to be done by a consulting firm, Landrum and Brown from the United States. But so too in Dominica, like here in St. Kitts, there are issues, I understand, with the project, issues in the context of who is really constructing the project, who is leading that project. But that's for Dominica. But here in St. Kitts and Nevis, CBI funds help to support still the payment of salaries to the St. Kitts government and the NIA employees. And recall that during the pandemic, the Harris government spent over $115 million on approximately 6,400 or 500 people as part of their paychecks. It also spent $21 million or more on a skills-based training project. By utilizing its CBI funds, don't forget its poverty alleviation program, PAP, for low-income households, has also benefited from some $13 million and more that was spent from the CBI funds. Irrespective of the criticism you hear about that project, let's get real, it's important. All these social assistance programs are very important to our people. Now, the Citizenship by Investment Program, CBI, one downside to it it was always shrouded in secrecy, or perhaps more than one downside, because there was always a lack of transparency. And I will confess, as they say, confession is good for the soul. I at times felt that I got more information when I was outside compared to when I was inside the cabinet. And I say so respectfully. However, it was not until cabinet decided that all revenues collected under the CBI should form part of the consolidated fund that belatedly derive some financial accountability, as the Ministry of Finance within the budget estimates highlighted projected and actual receipts under the caption of non-tax revenue. As a matter of fact, in the estimates for 2022, Volume 1, which was presented or laid on the table of the Parliament by then Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the actual revenues on page 5, section 2 of the financial summaries, the actual revenue for 2020, you'll have 2020 because that's when they're finished, and you table your budget in 2021. And the actuals for 2020 in terms of citizenship by investment on the non-tax revenue, the actual was $270,807,661. The approved estimates for 2021 were $250 million, and the projections were 500 million. But we'll see when the budgets, the estimates are tabled for this year's budget session, we'll see the actuals for 2021. And the estimates for 2022 were in fact $400 million. So that's a little snapshot of what our CBI program is doing in accord as can be gleaned from our budget estimates. Now, such reporting by the Ministry of Finance itself indicated that the Federation relied on the CBI program for a large portion of its revenue, its total revenue. And one can glean as well from the Director of Audit's report for 2020, I believe it was, as much as 40% of the country's revenue that is derived from the CBI program here in St. Kitts. But there has always, as I said before, there's always been controversy over the lack of transparency and accountability, which even triggered a very public conflict, we will recall, between the Premier of Nevis and the Prime Minister over the allocation of CBI funds. And this was one of the issues that led to the dissolution of Parliament on May 10, 2022, and an election some 90 days thereafter. Now, even after the election of August 5th instant, though, last August that is, this issue continues. This issue continues to unfold, because as recent as last week, the question of fair share was raised at the press conference of the Premier, and this seems to be the latest disposition of that matter according to the Premier of Nevis. This is his current disposition, it seems.
In relation to St. Kitts and Nevis, the fair share component matters. Could you just give us an update as to where that has gone?
I didn't say it was established. I said it was being established.
Okay.
So we have nominated our members to that committee. I have written to the Prime Minister indicating who the people from Nevis would be, 3 persons. It will be led from the cabinet of the NIA by the Honorable Troy Liburd, and we have the legal advisor, Madam Helen Lewis, and Mr. Colin Doe, our permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance. Those will be the troika from Nevis, and they now will join those from the Prime Minister's side in St. Kitts to sit and have this discussion.
One would have thought, though, just an observation, that, you know, instead of having a troika from the cabinet in Nevis or from the NIA in Nevis, one would have thought it would be all-inclusive, since this, whatever decision is being made as relates to the allocation of funds, be it CBI or whatever funds, they ought to include, be all-inclusive, as I said. Even here in St. Kitts, you'll have representation, because as I recall earlier, the Prime Minister spoke to establishing a legislative framework, but then you just can't have two parties, because, a matter of fact, one of the parties that's leading only control 45% of the vote. I'll have to flash back and see how much the other party control as well. But yes, it may not even be 50% when you put them all together. But that it is. But I believe that is a mistake, and we ought to have had an all-inclusive approach to settling this matter. But that being apart, nonetheless, the St. Kitts and Nevis and other CBI programs remain under the scrutiny of social and international media. Also, the European Parliament, let's not forget, are trying to make hay, even though the sun is not shining too brightly. Furthermore, one may conclude that the sun will never shine once one examines the empirical history of our own program, where it came from and what is its current disposition, or what is the present state of the program. You may be surprised to learn that as far back as 2006, our program began to attract considerable attention of the USA and Canada. Just take a cursory glance, for example, at the International Narcotics Control Strategy Report of 2006. And you will glean from same that it concluded way back then that the inadequately regulated economic citizenship program in St. Kitts Nevis was an area of concern to the USA. And this can be found in the International Narcotics Control Strategy Report, which is an annual report by the Department of State to Congress, prepared in accordance with the Foreign Assistance Act. In fact, Volume 1, dated March 2006, the Bureau for International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs named St. Kitts and Nevis as a transshipment point for cocaine from South America to the US. It further stated that the police drug unit on St. Kitts has been largely ineffective, beg your pardon. It continued that insufficient political will and the lack of complete independence for police to operate are contributing factors. But that had to be 16 years ago, as ironically, in a joint police and customs operation at the port of Basseterre just about a week ago, last Tuesday to be exact, I think, there was a massive drug bust of suspected cocaine and suspected cannabis that were found hidden on a cargo vessel on which it arrived that day in the Federation. The suspected cocaine carries an estimated street value, we are told, of approximately $26,400,000 US, or the equivalent $71,280,000, while the cannabis was estimated at approximately US $57 million, or EC $156,000. Now, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis is party to the 1961 UN Single Convention as amended by the 1972 Protocol, the 1971 UN Convention on Psychotropic Substances, and the 1988 UN Drug Convention. St. Kitts and Nevis is also party to the International American Convention Against Corruption and the Inter-American Firearms Convention. But I don't think up to this date we have signed the Inter-American Convention on Extradition or the Inter-American Convention on Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters. St. Kitts Nevis is a party to the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and its 3 protocols. In Volume 2, as well, of that report, it speaks again to the inadequately regulated economic citizenship program that adds to the problem. Now, the last paragraph states, and I quote, "The government of St. Kitts and Nevis continues to be vulnerable to money laundering and other financial crimes. St. Kitts and Nevis, it says, should continue to devote sufficient resources to effectively implement its anti-money laundering regime. Additionally, St. Kitts and Nevis should curtail its economic citizenship program." Could you imagine that? Curtail our economic citizenship program. Now, if we look at our background, the Citizenship by Investment Program was established in 1984 by the Simmons-led administration, just 1 year after our independence. It has never been disputed that the program is the oldest, if not one of the oldest, and it has as well the most the most well-respected program in the world. An option called the Sugar Industry Diversification Foundation was introduced by the Douglas Labor Administration in 2006. The foundation was established on September 2006, to be exact, with the National Bank Trust Company as founder. And the SIDF option was one of 3 approved options in addition to the real estate and investments approved by the Douglas Cabinet in 2006. And it said its primary purpose was to assist government in transitioning from sugar as the main industry to a more diversified economy by researching and funding the development of alternative industries, and was designated a specially approved project for the purpose of citizenship by investment. And we knew what the contributions were then. But much to the disgust of right-thinking citizens, the millions of US dollars that flowed into the SIDF, went into a private account controlled by a bunch of councillors handpicked then by the executive. A renowned QC challenged the illegality of this action, and he challenged it openly and vociferously.
I hope that the decisions that the government make as to its future bear in mind that it was operated in breach of Section 69 of the Constitution.
QC Wilkin admonished the Douglas administration back then that the SIDF was operated in breach of Section 69 of the Constitution, which simply states, all revenue or other monies raised or received by the government, not being revenues or other monies that are payable by or under any law, into some other fund or the government established for a specific purpose, shall be paid into and form a consolidated fund. QC Charles, and I have not seen him for a while, I hope that he's well, but back then he incurred the wrath of one called Nigel Carty.
Motivated him to make that statement Because these are not the days 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when only Charles Wilkins and a few people who look like him were lawyers in the country. When Mr. Charles Wilkins gets up, and I'm trying to figure out what it is that motivated him to make that statement, because these are not the days 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when only Charles Wilkins and a few people who look like him were lawyers in the country.
With the current configuration of the Terence Duke cabinet, interestingly, it would be very interesting to hear the views now of Nigel Carty. But my Straight Talk family, getting back to the real issue, I submit, if anybody changed the CBI in a way that caused it to misrepresent the values and qualities it originally represented way back in 1984, that person had to be the former Prime Minister and Right Honorable Denzel Llewellyn Douglas. He gave millions, or to use his words, invested millions in his friends at Kitation Hill and the Christopher Harbour. Nearly $100 million was put into these two developments.
The investors and developers in the Christopher Harbour again had internal problems, but we wanted development. And the Christopher Harbour people approached the SIDF. The cabinet, with me as the chairman of the cabinet, took the decision to support the SIDF, to invest for our advancement, and invested it in the Christopher Harbour so that that experiment of development can continue.
Now, as I said, nearly $100 million was pumped into the Christopher Harbour and the Kitation Hill project. Now, those who went to management school would no doubt have read the many writings of Peter Ferdinand Drucker, who was a leader in the development of management education and who invented the concept known as management by objectives and self-control, and who has been described, even after his death, as the founder of modern management. And there are thousands of quotations, but this one by Drucker has always stayed with me, and I quote, "Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things." In that context, Tim Harris did most of the right things. He ensured that all CBI revenue was paid into and formed part of the consolidated fund. To address the completion of projects, his cabinet also established a CBI technical committee.
Back in 2015, a technical committee, a CBI technical committee, was established through Skipper, and their responsibility is to police the projects, to determine whether construction is being built within the conditions that were set up on the approvals that were granted, and to also determine levels of construction.
The lists of persons granted diplomatic passports, however, and to whom they paid for these passports were never revealed, and this was also cited by the Queen's Counsel, and I dare say rightly so.
The list of persons who were granted diplomatic passports by Douglas and what and to whom they paid for same remains a state secret. Why the secret, given all the noise which Unity quite rightly made about this?
Well, having served in cabinet myself, I must confess, I will confess, that while it's difficult to be at variance with that proposition made by QC Charles, I have mixed feelings that such should be considered a state secret. Releasing the names who were granted diplomatic passports cannot or would not harm our national security or foreign relation interests if disclosed. So too, the disclosure of the number of passports issued under the CBI program, I submit, must be released. That was my view as a member of cabinet then, and it is still my view as a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I am not a lawyer, but I'll venture to submit there is no common law privilege that allows any prime minister, or for that matter, any permanent secretary responsible for the CIU, to refuse to produce information on the number of passports issued under the CBI and the nationality of these passports holders. And I hear you say, I should have asked before. And yes, I could have, and perhaps should have asked publicly. But that would not have been proper as a member of cabinet. But suffice to say, I did ask privately. So now it cannot be improper. So I asked the question publicly, as this information cannot rise to the level of being classified as a state secret. I asked publicly because Prime Minister Jew has spoken and has promised to restore the reputation of our CBI program, and he said this will be his top priority. This is what he said: the restoration of the CBI would be his top priority.
Program. However, St. Kitts and Nevis cannot and must not put all of its eggs in the CBI basket. Therefore, your government will work to restore the reputation of the CBI program. That is a top priority.
Well, we'll hold the Prime Minister to that. And restoration must mean that statistics ought to be revealed. These statistics were revealed 4 years ago in 2018. 4 years ago, these statistics were revealed by the then Prime Minister, Timothy Harris.
I had reported that under the program we were advised by the Canadian banknote, who manages our passport, the 10,777 had been issued at the end of December 2015. And we have the revised information from the banknote, which says that up to 2015, really, the figure should have been 12,496. And the total number of CBI passports now issued stands at 16,544.
Well, mathematics is my strongest weak point. And if the figures should have been 12,500 in 2015, then by 2018, we would have sold almost 4,000 passports. So, Straight Talk, on your behalf, are asking those in authority to release the figures. Straight Talk has learned that our two main client countries are China and Russia. Our two main client countries are China and Russia. And we always bring you the facts.
your clients are coming from, and have you seen a sort of an uptick with COVID and everything that's going on in the world?
Yes. Well, our main clientele has always been China and the Middle East. And over the last year with COVID, we've been seeing a lot more interest coming out of Russia. We seem to be getting that market, getting some momentum in that market again. If you would recall, I think in the early days, Russia was one of our primary sources.
And Russia still is, although they have been put on hold because of the Ukraine war. And I've heard that a lot of Russians are in Nevis and would embark on some investments in Nevis. That's good for Nevis. But we need to know. We need to know. Because Straight Talk has also learned that in the last 2 months, under Prime Minister Drew, he has signed over 1,500 CBI applications for the prison project coming from the mainland China. 1,500. And we need to know. As a country, we need to be told how many Russians or Chinese and or whatever nationality of persons are in possession of St. Kitts Nevis passports, as they all can come to live and work and or even vote in St. Kitts Nevis because they are citizens. I'll repeat that. As a country, we need to be told how many Russians and or Chinese and or whatever nationality of persons hold St. Kitts Nevis passports, who can come to live, to work, to relax, and even to vote in the St. Kitts Nevis elections, because they are citizens of this country. No matter what that act would say, the St. Christopher Citizenship Act. They can purchase. We need to know. And we need to be told how many Chinese, how many Russians, and whatever nationality of persons are holders of St. Kitts Nevis passports, because they can purchase any property anywhere in St. Kitts Nevis because they are citizens. We need to know Whither, Goeth, our citizenship by investment program. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. You tell me, what do you think? Do you think we need to know how many people and who hold our passports? We don't have to issue their names. We can just list their nationalities and tell us the numbers, because I am hearing from a reliable source that there are almost 30,000 persons who hold our passports as citizenship or from our citizenship by investment program. I'm going to go to the lines, my Straight Dog family. I'm going to entertain your calls and entertain your emails. The numbers are 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. Our email address is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. I always like to implore you, as I'll go to the lines in a few seconds, please respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in doing and saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 8:40, 20 before 9, I go to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding.
Good evening, Patches.
Good evening, my dear brother. How art thou?
Good. Hope all is well, sir.
Oh, God has been good to me. I'm peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Good. You know what's going to solve it? Look, St. Kitts and Nevis, they don't change. They're not going to be the same again. Finish with it. They're finished. Go on in. No, we need laws, transparency laws, integrity in public life. From the time Ratcher and the British white man create this place, St. Kitts and Nevis, of course, have gone to the dog. Nevis is worse than St. Kitts now. Look all the killing over there, burning up people. Anyhow, And if you want a good example of this, right? A very good example of this is a good case in point is ZIZ. Now, ZIZ was a place, you know, ZIZ has gone to the dogs. It has gone to the dogs. ZIZ. And let me explain something to you. Whatever happened to Wilsey White and Lovina Fitz? Whatever happened to people like these? Porcintis and things have gone to the dogs. Okay? No. The whole thing, like I said, since Black and the British white man left, everything has gone to the dog. No. I look at ZIZ News, 5 minutes. And when this thing comes on with the White commercial thing and quotes, I mean, you see the savage behavior of all people. I just turned my head. Because I can't listen to this. Coming off of ZIZ, I can't do that. You see the people carrying themselves. And this is what's happening. You think Sinkis is screwed up big time. The savage behavior. The other night, Saturday night, I was listening to this ZIZ, 7 o'clock folk. And this girl with some big ugly glasses. She thinks she looks good, but she don't look good at all. No. She's up there talking about Slovenia. Slovenia, there's no place in the world called Slovenia. And she's saying Slovenia. Slovenia. Why had this scandal gone so low in Sinkis and Nevis? No. I'm not going on, but I want to say, like I said, whatever happened to Wilsey White and Lovina Fitz and these people who made you proud. No, you haven't showed yet. And it's one of the best shows on ZIZ. And it's an early morning show. It's called the Sound of Praise or something like that. And they got a guy up there. When he's not playing, Bam Bam Lulu, you catch him on Sunday thing between the sheets and all this stuff. So I asked a cousin, who is that nut? And it's all about him. So I asked his cousin, who is this nutcase? So she told me about his dark side, but I wouldn't talk about that. But maybe they need to put this guy on Sunday. He plays some good R&B, American R&B, but the thing is in patches. This man, the older folks, they don't want to be hearing all this thing about so just put him on to play the R&B music. You see what I'm saying? But the fella is totally out of it. The other people are good. The man from Sandy Point, by way of Nevis, and the lady from Middle Island, and the young guy, they're great. But this guy, this is not, it's very irreverent. Very, very irreverent. We can't go on like this. Okay? The guy is he's a nutcase. No, Patrick, I have a lot more, but I can just say one or two more things, and I'm going to go. Because other people are coming. No. The best show they have there, what they should do is bring on that guy. His name is Jason Davis. He speaks clearly and very precise, very precise. Put him in there. Call the other girl, the regular announcer. She talks like she's talking a secret to you. So we have to bring up ZIZ, bring it up to the standard the way it was on the Bratcher and the white man. It's a mess. It's a total mess, Bratcher. You understand? Well, we cannot go on like, Sinkis cannot go on like this. No. This thing about you and the SIDF.
CBI.
Drew can't, what's his name? Drew, yeah. He can't be that naive to be dealing with Brantley. I mean, you see what Brantley did to Harris and Momo Shawn. Where would you be dealing with Macbeth Brantley? That boy, go read Macbeth, Shakespeare, and they'll find out. That boy is not good. He destroyed Harris and destroyed Momo Moore.
But do you believe that we should be privy to the information on the number of passports sold out?
Well, of course, that's what I said. We got to pass laws. We don't have law. Everybody come and lay things back. Harris Kundum was there because he had to be fighting for his life with these other jokers over there. And that's why he couldn't think. But all this stuff is what got sent. Yes, we must we must know it. Why not?
Okay. Okay.
No, another thing I want to talk about quickly, and I want to talk about the geothermal thing in Nevis. Let me explain something to you all, and you can bring all the scientists. That thing that Macbeth Brantley is talking about is, to me, it can blow you out to smithereens. That there's a vein that runs from the volcano in Montreal to the warm water bath in Bath Village, Nevis, right up to Brimstone Hill. They mess with that, they're going to blow you all to smithereens. So you all watch your all self, okay? But we need laws. Like I said, Patrick, you're one of the greatest influencers in thinkers. So you got to put in yourself right now. But we got to start with ZZ. Oh, let me talk about Jazzy. Jazzy is good. I mean,
You're raising something new each time. I'll give you a
yeah, well, it's the last of it. I want to leave the rest till next Thursday. Yeah. But she tend to go a little on the, entertainment side. Maybe she want to cover tune. But the woman is good and she got a very good show. Play some good music. She's tough with the line. But ZZ need to be cleaned up. The girl, the big ugly glasses and Saturday night need to go. Okay, the other one too. Okay, Patrick, I'll expound some more things. But watch you all self. You're going to buy you all self to smithereens with that geothermal stuff. Have a good evening, brother.
Have a good evening as well, my dear brother. Thanks for your intervention. I allowed you to tarry a little longer, but you're never out of words. But yes, we are looking at our substantive matter tonight, our citizenship by investment program. Straight talk, as I said, I've learned that our two main client countries are Russia and China. And interestingly enough, the former Prime Minister said this. Imagine this, what he said.
Need to revisit this particular matter of the citizenship by investment program. It has been bastardized, almost in a criminal way. Selling thousands of St. Kitts and Nevis passports instead of holding our passport to be a premium entity.
Douglas sold 12,000 passports, almost 13,000 passports. He says it's being bastardized. We understand that in just 2 months, a Jew has signed over 1,500 applications, so 1,500 passports in 2 months. Is Douglas right? But I am asking the question, do you think that we have a right to know? As a country, we need to be told how many passports have been issued under this program since its inception. How many citizens are out there? Our population, I understand, is just 54 or 55,000, right? But we understand some 30,000 citizens are out there. Citizens by investment are out there. As a country, we need to be told how many Russians, because our client countries are mainly Russians and Chinese. We need to know how many are out there. That's the question I'm asking tonight, and the nationality of these persons. Caller, you are live. It's 10 before 9 o'clock.
Okay. Good evening, Patrick. How are you doing, brother?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
As usual, too. Likewise, I'm peaceful here. I'm just humbling up myself, man. Every day giving thanks to Jack.
You shall be exalted. Don't worry.
That's right. Wagam by the man, it can come. Good evening.
Sure.
When Dr. Douglas said that our citizenship has been bastardized, who was the Prime Minister at that when he made that comment?
Prime Minister Harris.
Okay. Well, what the present amount of passports has been sold right now is far more than when Dr. Douglas bastardized
our passport when they were sold on to Dr. Harris. What he say now?
Well, we can't forget the FinCEN advisory and our with visit loss of our visit-free status in Canada. So, I to apportion blame to Harris is disingenuous and insincere and perhaps even downright silly, to be honest.
Okay. Well, it was bastardized when Canada, who was buggered them with the passport, come across the border.
That's true.
Well, I look now, so what, wonder why it is, buddy, is what, not only bastardized, but a war being. And, you know, Patches, in every visual games, whether between 2 persons, 4 persons, or in a football match, cricket match, whatever it is, you know, the spectators are the greatest players until they sit down or they turn come to participate in the game. They see where you should have pushed them on and you should have given that and come back, so and that kind of thing. But when they get there, you know, you want to know if that was the person who had all the ideas. Well, I'm saying that to say this. When Team Unity was in, before the hypocrites them, the backstabbers them, come out playing out and show the whole wall that their intention was just to use Dr. Harris to help them accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, and that is to throw Dr. Douglas. When they were there and they come out and they backstabbing and whatnot, they were criticizing that Dr. Harris is no good for the country and all this kind of thing, and this must be done and that must be done. And we have people like Mr. Troffman for 5-6 years. The government been run under Dr. Harris, the leadership of Dr. Harris. And you're going to tell me the amount of surpluses Dr. Harris was able to give double salary 4 times, back to back. And he ain't short pay. The civil servants, them nobody salary was short paid. He was able to manage that. And man like Mr. Troffman criticized everything that Dr. Harris did. He never once said, well, boy, let me conscience guide me, man. I'm doing good. Well, all these wrong things what we hear going on now, where is he now? He ain't saying nothing. Well, this Chinese woman who went to, where he was in New York there, the
United Nations.
Yeah, United Nations. What she is, the woman prime minister of the country. Well, she had to be a citizen of the state to go that far, because if she owned the hotel down by Belmont, that big hotel down there, whatever it is, she has to have some kind of citizenship. That's why she went there. But one of the men who tried to talk down Dr. Harris and his administration, well, he was saying that these are the best people now to be in. And he now swing on them. He now swing on them with this woman who I don't know what to call her, some kind of, I remember the name. This woman here, why should she be in front of government ministers? Where she is a government minister? All of them who criticize Dr. Harris when the country was going good, let them come on here and talk about that. Don't keep them out shut. And the $45 million went over to Christopher Harbour, and then the other rest million went down to Kitchen Hill. Well, I understand that nothing tall going on down Kitchen Hill, because when people go down there to do business, the bossman and the secretary, they're not there. And who know how they behave, they tell them, well, they ain't going to come back to such and such a time. And so therefore, nothing is going on. But anyway, Patches, time short. Other people want to come in, so let me move. They will let them come in.
Thank you very much.
I'll be back.
Thank you, my brother. Thanks a lot. We go straight back to the lines.
Thank you.
Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, my dear.
Yeah, hello, Patches.
How art thou?
Good, yeah, good night, me. I get in now. Anyway, when all the parties, they went come in, people start little things, And when labor into facility and unity, they say another thing. Everybody want to know about the passport, but they want to go out there go work. That could get the passport then start out. That people could know. I don't know about passport. They better give me some of the passport money. Come here, poor woman. Take care.
Let me say, what,
baby, I was going to say Stony Wood.
Take your time. Take your time. Are you there? Take your time.
Yeah, I want you.
You don't have to talk so fast. So I want everybody to understand.
Yeah, I don't want everybody to know either. Yeah, but it Palm, it Labor, everybody just sell the passport and unity.
Yeah.
What the problem is, because we don't go China and we don't go all over. So they're looking at us. The Chinese woman, maybe investment, she want to give Labor.
So would you?
But unity refused.
So wouldn't you like to know how many passports out there?
I don't know. They might give me some of the money. I don't know.
You want some of the money? Okay.
Yeah, if I give me some of the money, then maybe I'll hotel or something.
What? You want to go to hotel? Okay.
So you take care.
Have a good night, my dear. Take care. That's my good friend from down yonder there in Boys. But in the event you have just joined me, we are asking the question, Whither goeth our CBI, our Citizenship by Investment Program? Our new Prime Minister has promised to restore it. I don't know exactly what he really means by restoration, but it is doing well, it would seem. The issue of CBI funds created a problem and took us right into an election, because issues were raised about fair share. And if we would reflect on what really happened back then, we would know that the issues have not been resolved. But our program, like many other programs around the world, are under threat from the European Union. It's been under threat for a long time from the USA. And one has to be very cautious, in particular with what's happening now, in fact, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and really reaching out to and exposing ourselves to the Russians, because what's going to happen is that we may not be able to move the money because of the issues with the correspondent banking and so on. There are quite a lot of issues that can come to the fore as it relates to our program. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that the CBI fund or the CBI program is so critical to our very existence here in St. Kitts. Because of the CBI funds, which were properly utilized by the then Prime Minister, we survived for almost 2 years. 2 years. When we had a pandemic that we've never seen in almost a century, in almost 100 years. So we say, thank God for the CBI. But how can you diversify it? It has been diversified in so many ways. But how can we really improve on it? That's the questions many may ask. But the Citizenship by Investment Program, the CBI, it is shrouded in secrecy. And there was always a lack of transparency. And I will confess, I confessed before, as they say that confession is good for the soul. I at times felt that I got more information when I was outside compared to when I was inside cabinet. However, it was not until cabinet decided that all revenues, yes, all revenues collected under the CBI should form part of the consolidated fund. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Yeah, President, I'm back here.
Doubling up.
You really freshen up my memory, man. I almost forget. Now you see the two countries. You see the two countries who have the most of our passport. Two communist countries, China and Russia, and both of them holding the same head against Ukraine. Now everybody know, the world know that man in Russia is one of the biggest lawyers as a leader. And in the first place, he said he was moving his troops close to the border, not to interfere with Ukraine. But we know that was a lie. Look what we see happening there now. And last night, as usual, I was listening to the BBC News and heard the amount of countries that have our passport. The amount of countries that disagree with Russia interfering with Ukraine. And I said, wow. So now you talk tonight, now I say, look who have the most of our passport, Russia and China. They're going to soon move in here and take over our little two islands. We don't see what the Chinese them doing with the Goeth. They come in and they jam mama and papa them Marby and Safi cake shop. They kill them because China subsidizing the people when they go out that they could push the business, and when the business come to so popular now, then they're gonna take over the rest of the country. We're gonna soon have to learn to talk Russian and Chinese language around here. Because you hear what you said earlier. They are citizens, yes, and once you are a citizen of a country, then the rights of a citizen is allowed to you. But why? Why all of these kind of people here and not a lot of the black African countries and Caribbean countries around the world? Why them too? Where there is progress, there is a lot of crime behind it. And we got to watch who we give our passport to. Because when they come here with the fake words that they want to invest. They want to invest to take over the whole country, the whole land. And we the native, we're going to just have to stand aside and watch them if we don't put a stop into it now. No. Patches, no. Let me go back to the last thing and then I will leave. They're saying they celebrate 39 years of independence, but I didn't see it there, We were doing better on the statehood because you're going to tell me big countries up there, I'm going to call the name. They got hunting season where they go and hunt deer, wild pigeon, wild duck, moose, all kind of things. We don't have no hunting season down here. What we have down here is pests and parasites destroying our economy. And our economy backbone is the agriculture, the poor black people, them. They're trying their best to make sure we have food security. And these monkeys destroying the people them goods. They have to take the money and go buy seeds and slips and plant them, and the time and the gas and everything that they go to the farm. 3 days when they go back, everything pull up. And nobody doing nothing about them. Now, if we decide, well, look, we cannot have you all here destroying the farmers' good because that is where our economy getting its support from, our little bit of agriculture. Now if they can start to clean up the monkey and reduce the population, this great dictator company what they got out here in the outer world, named PITA, Peter, they're going to come in and threaten our country again. So therefore, if we were independently on our own, they couldn't come and tell us nothing. That is why I come to the conclusion that we will better under statehood than now. Because we still going out there and begging and we're afraid to do what we supposed to do in our country. We can't let them come and tell us what to do. We can't go and tell them out there, stop shooting this and stop killing that. But they could come and tell us that. Okay. We're depending on the university people them to help our economy, and they're going to come and threaten our country. Go down there and tell the university people them if they don't stop doing what they're doing to animals, what they're going to do to our country. We are not independent. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. It's 6 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. This email reads, Mark is between a rock and a hard place. He wants to give Sean the opportunity to be the leader of the opposition as compensation for the sordid dealings and trick he worked on Sean to disintegrate Team Unity government. But Nevisians are saying, hell no way. I am a Nevis man, reads this email. But the leader of the opposition and also Nevis must be nominated. Let's go back to the lines. They'll take that email. After caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yes, you're live.
Yeah, tell you something. Tell Cole just stick to the point. Tell him stick to the point. He going off. He going off talk all the kind of stupidness there. Tell him stick to the point. He's a large man too. I don't know what you say. Tell him stick to the point. I'm never pan man on him. Me am a pan on him. We're the biggest pan man in Sinkers. This is courage talking. Right.
And he should talk about the passports. That's what you're saying. Okay, I've lost him. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Yes, good evening, Packers again, me. Come on, opening tomorrow on my forum, therefore, it was supermarket. You ain't no getting nothing with nobody. Come on, up my forum, therefore, but it's a big container with a cell clothes.
Who's opening?
Yeah?
Okay, I got you.
Come on, gonna up there tomorrow.
Okay.
The supermarket.
Okay,
my forum, therefore, we probably used to be.
Okay, I got a free advertisement. Thank you for your information.
In the morning, he said, but me don't know yet.
Okay, my dear.
All right, see you.
Okay, my dear.
Okay, see you.
Wow, you got a free advertisement there. It's now 8 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. And again, let me read this email from the top. Mark is between, beg your pardon, the rock and a hard place. He wants to give Sean the opportunity to be the leader of the opposition as compensation for the solid dealings and trick he worked on Sean to disintegrate the Team Unity government. But the divisions are saying, hell no way. A Nevis man must be the leader of the opposition, and also another Nevis division must be nominated opposition senator. The electorate in Nevis are contending. They are saying either Keith Scarborough, the king, this and that, or Mr. Liburd, one of the heavyweights on Von Radio. The salaries and other fringe benefits will surely boost the Nevis economy. The challenge Brantley is now facing is who he will place, especially with the imminent NIA election. Sean, boy, your chances look dim. For his one election Mark cannot afford to lose is this one. You had a good thing going, a good big work. I did let Mark turn you a fool. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd.
Good evening, sir.
And good evening to the listeners home and abroad. Carl Brown here.
Brother Carl.
Mr. Liburd.
Yes, Carl.
Isn't there a part in the Constitution that says the party which commands the majority of elected representatives should be the opposition leader?
Well, it doesn't actually say that, but it speaks to the Governor General, who in his deliberate judgment, he will determine that. Something like that, he says.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all those who are sending in those emails and whatever they are sending in, the Honorable Sean Richards cannot and should not be the opposition leader with one seat.
Well, I mean, the others can give him their support. It shouldn't say that. If the others indicate they'll support him as opposition leader, then they can.
Well, does the Constitution say that?
No, but if they indicate that they'll support Sean Richards, then that is all that is needed. That means he commands the majority. It has nothing to do with whether he has one seat or not. You had Timothy Harris as Prime Minister with one seat.
Yeah, but he
commands the majority.
Right.
So then it can be similar with Sean on the opposition bench. It has nothing to do with the amount of seats on the other side.
But I'm just asking if our Constitution did make up any areas for the opposition leader with that.
Yes, I will find it, but I'm almost certain that it speaks to is similarly to opposition as it speaks to the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister. Okay. Yeah. The other question is, with all of these passports that we are selling, remember, it said that they become economic citizens, something like that, right?
Well, yeah, but there's a citizen is a citizen. You have a St. Kitts passport. There's a St. Christopher Citizenship Act which speaks to that, but it cannot supersede the Constitution. You're a citizen.
Right. So the question I'm asking, if all of these foreign members are becoming citizens, is it or should it be that one day they can put up themselves for candidates in our elections?
Well, no, because the Constitution don't allow them to, because they're not born in St. Kitts. And we have that clause in the Constitution they refer to the brand clause, was it?
Yeah.
So maybe their children can eventually, if they're born here.
Because we had our first education minister was not a born citizen.
Well, the Constitution was changed since that, remember?
Yeah. No. When you have all of these citizens from all of these countries and the numbers mounting, you know they are going to be pushing that since they are citizens and they're making their contribution, because they're going to bring the argument that they are making the financial contribution to the federation, so they deserve the right to put forth a candidate or candidates. I don't know if people are looking down the road that way we are heading here. And you see all of these gated communities that we are loving these people to build up and shut out our citizens from the land of our birth. Robert Blatter said that the land was for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to roam freely. And we now being shut out by chains and rope going across our shores of our seawater where it was said that no one should not be having access to the seashore and the seawater. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I mean, these
are things that we ought to be fighting our government on, because you're taking all these people money, you're giving them our passport and all kind of thing. They come here, they build villas, they build gated communities, and then we are shut out from going on to our beaches. It cannot be right, and it should not be right, and we should not allow it.
But we do.
Yeah, we are loving it. Because these people, when you go to pass the gate, the security call the police, and the police is coming citizen. How could that be in our country? If I am strolling on the beach and you go across the train and I walk past the train, how could my police that I am paying come and representing you, a foreign citizen with a gated community, when it is said in my constitution that I have access to all beaches? So somebody please to ask the question when the Prime Minister has his first conference. Why is it? Because I've been asking this question to Tim Turner, and he has not been answered. I asked it to Dr. Denzel Douglas, it has not been answered. So we are asking it again. Why is it our citizens have been shut off from all beaches, and when the police is called, the police is representing the foreign citizen? So we want somebody to ask that question, because I should have all access to all beaches in St. Kitts Nevis.
Do you believe as well, and we can't disagree with you, right? But do you agree that as a country we should also be told how many persons, how many passports are out there, and the nationality of these holders as well?
Yes, yes. Every quarterly, or at least every 6 months, there should be a record taken in all media houses and all news briefing how many passports we have sold in such and such a time, how many countries these passports have gone to, and how many citizens.
Yeah, I think that's information we all ought to have. So you are in agreement, my dear brother.
But I am going. When I catch Dr. Jew on any one of these programs, I am going to ask him, and I am pleased to tell him prepared for Carl Brown. Why is it that we are denied access to our beaches, which are gated off, chained off, rope?
Which beach are you referring to, though? Which beach that's Sheila? You just
a number of beaches over the Southeast Peninsula.
Okay.
We don't have access to drive around them like once ago. We don't have access to walk around them because there's a jar hut and there's security always watching from somewhere and stopping your access from going around these beaches. And remember, you have the clipping up. One of the big persons over there said a few years ago they have 6 of the best beaches in the Caribbean and possibly in the world. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
So I want my access to go fishing like we used to at night. Go over there, go fishing down on those beaches. We need access to go over there and keep our parties, weddings, and whatever else we want to. They don't buy our beaches. They buy the land above the beach, not the beach. I'm gone.
Thank you very much for your input. In addition to ensuring we have information as well, Carl has raised a very important point as to our access to our beaches. And one cannot dispute that. That is something that Papa Bradshaw made sure that all our beaches are public beaches, and they ought to remain that way. There should be no question whatsoever about that. There's a particular beach on the Southeast Peninsula that we were allowed to drive down for years, but they put up a chain, and the distance you have to walk, it's so, and we have to get to is not the next way of saying to you, you can't go there. That's something that we tried to address, and somehow we thought we had it sorted out, and then lo and behold, the good gentleman put back up his chain, and we did nothing, absolutely nothing about it. But my straight talk family, it's 22 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. And we're looking at our citizenship by investment program. And in the event you have just joined me, the client countries mainly of our program were actually outlined, but I'll get to that. Let me take this call first, and I'll come back to that. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Good night. How are you?
I am peaceful, my dear. And yourself?
Not too bad. Mr. Liburd, you know, if Labour did bring in the passport story first, and they come back now again with the same story with the passport. So who they want to say do it? Them doing it all the time. And another thing, I was listening to the AG in a program saying with the boundary, they're going to see to it that the boundary change. But they're talking about boundary all the time. They never do nothing. And they're going to do nothing again. Because all them people are coming to vote, they said they come for Timothy, and how they get them. And they vote all over, and they cheat to get in. They're going to change the boundary. Anyway, see you. Good night. Have a good night.
Good night, my dear. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Always straight and to the point. It's now 23 past the 9 o'clock hour. I'll take this other email. I'm trying to get my emails here. It's in the event you've just joined us nonetheless. We are discussing tonight our citizenship by investment program. We are asking the question about secrecy. But let's get this email first, and I'll get back to that. This email reads, just imagine, reads this email, just imagine, come on. Bear with me, my straight dog family. I seem to have lost this email. What's this coming up on my computer here? This email reads again, just imagine Sean and Mark organized a palace coup to overthrow Prime Minister Harris, then amalgamated their parties into a movement called Real Unity, keeping the promise. Both leaders had a mentally deranged fella on all the radio stations, spending and begging money to fund a vicious and abusive campaign against Harris, and at the same time providing him cabinet-sensitive information. Now look at irony. As soon as Labour won, one of the leaders has extended a crooked friendship hand to Dr. Drew, claiming he will work with him for the benefit of Nevis, which is a scapegoat, which is just a scapegoat. Now that he will be traveling to Taiwan as part of the Labour government delegation, you mean to say he is so selfish, egotistic, and all about himself, and he couldn't ask Dr. Drew to include Sean as part of the Taiwan delegation? What a man, reads this email. This other email reads, St. Thomas New Airport Terminal looks nice with 10 jetway. St. Martin and Antigua Airport Terminal has 4 each. St. Vincent has 2. St. Lucia also building new terminal with jetway also. St. Kitts Airport has the space to build a long terminal going west across those big jets, going west across, beg your pardon, where those big jets do park. Glad to know it's an American company planning St. Kitts Airport Terminal. They did one for St. Thomas, very nice and very beautiful. Thank you, Patches, reads this other email. It's now 9:26, my Straight Dog family. If you have just joined me, we were looking, or are looking, at our citizenship by investment program. We are suggesting that there must be some more transparency as it comes to that program. It has always been shrouded in secrecy. And I mentioned Peter Drucker. And Peter Drucker has a famous quote: management is doing things right, but leadership is doing the right things. And in that context, I've submitted that our former Prime Minister Harris did most of the right things as it comes to the CBI program. He ensured that all CBI revenue was paid into and formed part of the consolidated fund. Do not forget where we came from when the Prime Minister before him, Douglas, was saying that the SIDF was a private fund. Harris ensured that all citizenship by investment revenue is still, as I speak, paid into and it forms part of the consolidated fund. To address the completion of projects, the Harris cabinet also established a CBI technical committee.
Back in 2015, a technical committee, a CBI technical committee, was established through Skipper, and their responsibility is to police the projects, to determine whether construction is being built within the conditions that were set up on the approvals that were granted, and to also determine levels of construction.
So, we shouldn't have those shells around as it relates to the new projects. I'm not certain if this technical committee has any control over those projects that have been in existence for 9, 10 or more years. But the issue as well is the secrecy that surrounds the program as it relates to releasing the nationalities of persons, or first of all, releasing the names of persons who were granted diplomatic passports. And that, I believe, cannot and would not harm our national security or foreign relation interests if disclosed. So too, I submit that the disclosure of the number of passports issued under the CBI program must be released. And don't tell me that never happened before, or I didn't say it before. I am saying it now. That's most important. And that was my view as a member of cabinet then. And it still is my view now as a private citizen. And I'm not a lawyer. I'll venture, as I said, to submit. There's no common law privilege that allows any prime minister or any permanent secretary responsible for the Citizenship Investment Unit to refuse to give us information. They cannot refuse to produce information on the number of passports issued under the CBI and the nationality of these passport holders. We're not even asking for their names. No, we don't need it. What we need to know, this passport holder comes from Saudi Arabia. This passport holder comes from China. This passport holder comes from Russia. This passport holder comes from Ukraine or wherever. We are saying the number of passports issued and the nationality of these passport holders. Remember one time that Douglas took out the place of birth field and we got sanctioned by the USA and sanctioned by Canada. He was forced to put it back in. And I hear you say, I should ask about this before, and yes, I could have, and perhaps should have asked. But I don't think it was proper for me to ask so publicly when I was a member of the cabinet. But suffice to say, I did ask privately. So now, it cannot be improper for me to ask the question publicly, as this information cannot rise to the level of being classified or as a state secret. So I ask publicly, because Prime Minister Jew has spoken about restoring the reputation of our CBI, and I agree with him. I support him on that. We need to restore the reputation. And one way of doing so is to release the statistics. Give us the stats. Give us the stats. These statistics were revealed 4 years ago. We learned that some 16,554 passports have been issued, but that was 2018. That was 4 years ago. We learned that since taking office, the Prime Minister of today has already signed some 1,500 passports. Tell us about them. Where are they from? Are they all Chinese? We can't sell to Russians right now because we said we have stopped including Russians right now in the program because of what's happening in Ukraine. But over 16,554 passports in 2018, 4 years after. What do we know? We learned for sure that our two main client countries are China and Russia. I didn't fabricate that. This comes from the head of the CIO.
Your clients are coming from, and have you seen a sort of an uptick with the COVID and everything that's going on in the world?
Yes. Well, our main clientele has always been China and the Middle East. And over the last year with COVID, we've been seeing a lot more interest coming out of Russia. And we seem to be getting that market, getting some momentum in that market again. If you would recall, I think in the early days, Russia was one of our primary sources.
So we want to know. We want to know. We understand that over 80%, as much as 80% of the nationals are the passport holders are nationals of Russia and China combined. So we ask the question. We ask the question because we have learned, I'll repeat it, we have learned that in the last 2 months alone, under the CBI project, the CBI prison project, some 1,500 CBI applications for the prison project have been signed by Prime Minister Joe, and they emanate are coming from mainland China. We have nothing against the Chinese, but we just want to know. We have nothing against the Russians, but we just want to know. As a country, we need to be told how many Russians or Chinese and or whatever nationality of persons are in possession of St. Kitts Nevis passports. Because they all can come to live. They all can come to work. They all can come to vote in St. Kitts Nevis because they are citizens of the country. We want to know as a country how many Russians, Chinese, or whatever nationality of persons are in possession of St. Kitts Nevis passports, because they can purchase any property anywhere in St. Kitts and Nevis because they are citizens. We need to know Whither, Goeth, our CBI program. And that's my word for tonight. And I'm not going to change it. Even when I'm come to the end, I will stick to that word. Our program is important, very important. It is critical. We fund many things. The CBI was established as way back in 1984, making it the longest established program of its kind. We know the issues with FinCEN. That's because the Douglas Labour administration did not take heed. After 8 years of being warned, he was warned about the illicit actors from Iran. Then came the FinCEN advisory. The FinCEN advisory in 2014 spoke to the abuse of the Citizenship by Investment program sponsored by St. Kitts and Nevis. It spoke to that. And the Citizenship by Investment program offers citizenship to a non-citizen who either invests in designated real estate, or we now have the alternative investment options. We've had so many different programs. But the FinCEN report said, and I quote, FinCEN believes that illicit actors are abusing this program to acquire St. Kitts Nevis citizenship in order to mask their identity and geographic background for the purpose of evading or U.S. or international sanctions or engaging in other financial crime. It went on. For example, FinCEN believes that several Iranian nationals designated by the Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, have obtained passports issued through the Citizenship by Investment program of St. Kitts and Nevis. It went on. While many countries offer programs similar to the St. Kitts Nevis Citizenship by Investment program, the St. Kitts Nevis program is attractive to illicit actors because the program, as administered, maintains lax controls as to who may be granted citizenship. But that was under Douglas, I will hasten to add. That was under Douglas. Under the Team Unity administration, things change. And we are hopeful that things will change for the better under Joe. Because Prime Minister Joe said that he's going to reform the program. And I very well believe him. So I'll wait and give him time. I'll give him some time to reform that program, because Prime Minister Joe, is not going to be easy. It won't happen overnight. There's lots of laws you have to ensure.
Program. However, St. Kitts and Nevis cannot and must not put all of its eggs in the CBI basket. Therefore, your government will work to restore the reputation of the CBI program. That is a top priority.
Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. I want to thank you for holding. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller?
Yeah, but I'm turning down the radio. You hear me now?
Yes, yes, my dear. I almost said you sound like Alice in Wonderland again.
Yeah, when I have to hear about the Russian, it sick my stomach. 10 men in one look like him. Mr. Liburd, before they go to the other joyride, get a meeting with the merchant. They don't want to touch, maybe they don't want to touch the Chinese. Everything gone up in its space of 1 month. If they don't know, I am saying it. No. And it's the people who put them there will feel it. Parents with children going to school, you must talk out. Don't take everything because you owe to them. And ask cause I have to make it out. I have to look into let the AG look into everything and look into that instead of Timothy and his brothers. See you. Have a good night. Go get home safely.
Have a good night as well, my dear sister. Very interesting comment there, because the focus really ought to be on what's happening in terms of inflation and lack of growth, economic growth. As a matter of fact, the IMF chief just a few days ago spoke to the possibility of inflation, and that's something we have to take seriously as it relates to increase in food prices and increase in the cost of fuel, which would affect our electricity because our generators run on fuel, fossil fuel, as it's called. So we have to be very, very cautious of what the IMF chief said about a possible world recession. And he said this just a few days ago about the possible recession worldwide.
Our global growth forecast for this year is unchanged at 3.2%, while our projection for 2023 is lowered to 2.7%, 0.2 percentage points lower than the July forecast. The 2023 slowdown will be broad-based, with countries accounting for a third of the global economy expected to contract this year or next. The three largest economies, the United States, China, and the euro area, will continue to stall. In short, the worst is yet to come, and for many people, 2023 will feel like a recession. Global growth next year could slow down to below 2%, a historically low level. We've only had that 5 times since 1970. The slowdown is most pronounced in the euro area, where the energy crisis caused by the war will continue to take a heavy toll, reducing growth to 0.5% in 2023. Almost everywhere, rapidly rising prices, especially for food and energy, are causing serious hardships for vulnerable households. Despite the slowdown, inflation pressures are proving broader and more persistent than anticipated. Global inflation is now expected to peak at 9.5% in the third quarter of 2022, before decelerating to 4.1% by 2024. Inflation is also broadening beyond food and energy. Global core inflation rose from an annualized monthly rate of 4.2% at the end of 2021 to 6.7% in July for the median country. Downside risks remain elevated, and policy trade-offs have become acutely challenging. Here are a few of the ones we highlight in our report. The risk of monetary, fiscal, or financial policy miscalibration has risen sharply at a time of high uncertainty and growing fragilities. Global financial conditions could deteriorate and the dollar strengthen further should turmoil in financial markets erupt. Inflation could yet again prove more persistent, especially if labor markets remain extremely tight. Finally, the war in Ukraine is still raging, and further escalation can exacerbate the energy crisis.
And that's a report, my people, you must take seriously. The future looks bleak. Global inflation would rise to 9.5% in the third quarter. Remember, we are part of a village. Globalization has made or turned the world into one village. You see what happened with COVID-19. The sneeze in China, we all caught a cold. So do not believe that the food and energy prices in the world will not affect us, because we are in fact a part of this world. But it's now 13 before 10 o'clock. Let me go back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Yeah, I'm Patrick, but good night.
My dear brother Jamdon, how art thou?
I'm fine, my brother. Patrick, we on the street want to thank you for reviving the powerhouse with a young local typical my born, a very good friend of mine's son. When you was the minister in charge of Skelet, you mean that powerhouse must run by an engineer from St. Kitts with the abuse and the farmer powerhouse big man, when he used to be ordering all kind of things, and then when you look, they drive over to Antigua. When you pick it up, you meant that young man just leave school, qualified, should take over and look at what that young man doing today for the beloved country. God bless Bouncing, God bless the youngster, and thank you, Patrick. I tell you, you set the bar very high in this country as a minister, you know. And who come in that room themselves? Good night.
Good night, my brother. I'm always humbled by your commendation, you know. But yes, it is a good thing to see our own people, our own ordinary people running the important institutions in the country. And a critical institution, yes, like Skellig. I can tell you, I got a recommendation from the then chairman of the board to appoint someone. And my view was, under my watch, I was not going back to the colonial days. The colonial days were over. So I will have to take that gamble, if you call it a gamble. I knew it was not a gamble to worry about, because the young man is highly qualified, is highly intelligent, come from a family of teachers. And it did not matter about any political persuasion or suasion or whatever. I believe he was someone the country can take the step forward with. So as you said, Jam Down, you're correct. I'm humbled that you spot that, but I don't like to talk about these things, but you forced me to say what I said. But I am proud of some of the decisions I took, some of the things that I've done in the country, and as time progresses, we will see them. And just to say, you know, I understand that sometime next year, the cruise ship parade will start. Sometime later this year, rather, the cruise ship parade will start. And we anticipate we'll have some over 900,000 passengers. And we look forward to that. But, my dear brothers and sisters, most of those ships will go to cruise pier number 2. That is something we all must be proud about. It's ripe. It's not spoiled, it's ripe. Caller, you live.
Patches.
My brother.
Patches.
Yes, sir.
Remember we talk truth at Straight Talk. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes. There's no democracy without truth. There's no truth, though, without controversy. And the truth at times hurt. And many times I'm very blunt with the truth. And some people get upset. And I apologize for that. But I can't talk nothing but the truth. And I was saying, yes, that second cruise pier is something we all will be proud about in years to come. No matter what they said, no matter what they tried to do. Old Road Bay is another significant project that we all will be proud about. Hurricane, storms, sun, rain, sun, or moonlight, Old Road Bay project would stand up. Someone said it ought to be lit. And yes, there are street lights that have already been procured for the Old Road Bay project. Where they disappeared to, we ought to find out. We ought to find out where they have disappeared to. And as we wind down, although we were speaking about the CBI program, we may have digressed a little bit, but that's important nonetheless. Sometimes we have to do that to ensure that things are on the right track. I noticed there are quite a lot of wild goose chases going on with the new administration. I've seen a lot of things coming to my telephone, my WhatsApp, and whatnot. I've refused to address some of them because we don't want to be in any cas. We want to speak issues and real issues. Yes, there are things going on at NHC. There are things going on at Solid Waste and all over. Our board members or our chairpersons have been appointed to boards. We have not seen the membership. I've seen the membership for a National Bank board. I don't know if that's accurate because I don't know if there was an extraordinary general meeting. At least I didn't hear about that. So that couldn't have changed like that. But what is most important is the ordinary man. The poor people are suffering. The poor people are hurting while they are focused on traveling here, there, and everywhere and forgetting about the poor people. You need to stimulate the economy. Find some way to stimulate the economy. A factory is going to be closed, unfortunately, in the next couple of weeks. Where would those people get food or money from to buy food to put table or food on their table for their children? These are the issues that this administration must focus on. Caller, you're live.
Don't mind who finishing, not know what you do. It's who started. And the both them, Mr. Grant's name will always call. So nobody claim nothing. Hear you.
And yes, we will give credit where credit is due. But let's focus. Stop focusing on the victimization and putting people here, there, and every place. Focus on running the country. Focus on doing things that are right, my dear brothers. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller?
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah. This is the last thing before you go. You soon go.
Yes, I'm going now, yes.
Yeah, and straight talk. As Jamdong said, we speak the truth.
Yes, we do.
And we try to highlight as many topics as possible in a little space of time. Because we don't have 3 hours show. So we got to highlight them and alert people of what take place and what is taking place. And when we get the time, then we will elaborate on them. But you were doing a good job when you were there. Everybody talk about you. And you are greatly missed from that position. But I can tell you something. You know who sold Jesus Christ, Judas, and he was very close in statue to Jesus. And this thing happened here in politics. A lot of people fool themselves for one belly full, and the rest 6 days in the week, the belly empty. And now they hungry them a ball. The ball, man. Look beyond today. Look about for tomorrow. Today is for today, tomorrow is for tomorrow. Tomorrow's sun may never shine. And if the sun do shine, you should have something put in place. Thank God for you with the peer. And I know that will bring some help to our economy when those ships dock up to that second cruise pier. Thank God for you. You had vision and you follow your vision. And you let your conscience be a guide. And that is what we do here on Straight Talk. We don't bend up nothing. Before we know that we are lawyers, we use parables. And along the line with the parable, people could read and understand where we're coming from. Because you have to protect this station and you have to protect yourself from getting lawsuit. But anyway, later on, I believe the Prime Minister Joe, when he hold his first press conference, question would be asked and he would give answers. And when Parliament is open, he will say a lot of things. He will let the whole nation know what is to be done and what they are doing. And Patches, the opposition got 3 leaders. Well, one pull out now. He want to go on the other side with Dr. Joe, but Dr. Joe ain't stupid. Dr. Joe know what they do. Dr. Joe know how we behave. He own brother. So what he won't do with Dr. Joe? If you think Dr. Joe is stupid, let you go. Patches, you have a good night.
Have a good night, my brother. And that's the way we're going to end it tonight, my Straight Talk family, because my time is almost done and I got to run. But my Straight Talk family, we looked at our CBI program tonight. And I said to you that if anybody changed the CBI in a way that caused it to misrepresent the qualities or the values and qualities it originally represented, that person had to be former Prime Minister and Right Honorable Denzel Llewellyn Douglas. He gave millions, or to use his words, invested millions in his friends at Kitchen Hill and Christopher Harbour. But those of us who went to management school, as I said earlier, and I'll say it as my parting shots, no doubt would have read the many writings of Peter Drucker. And one of his quotations have stayed with me and will stay with me forever, and I quote, "Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things." No one can convince me that Tim Harris did not do most of the right things with the CBI program. He ensured that all CBI revenue was paid into and formed part of the consolidated fund. To address the completion of projects, his cabinet established a CBI technical committee. But there are issues in terms of transparency as relates to the disclosure of the number of passports issued under the CBI program. And these information must be released. These statistics must be released. That was my view as a member of cabinet, and it still is my view as a private citizen. There's nothing to worry about in terms of national security and of foreign relations. We need to release that information. And I say, my Straight Talk family, I look forward to Prime Minister restoring, to use his words, the CBI, or reputation of the CBI. I'm trying to find out exactly what he means, but I'm speculating here. And one way I suggest he can start to restore that reputation is to release the statistics. The last set of statistics we got 4 years ago revealed that 16,554 passports were issued under the program. That's a lot. We have learned that almost 30,000 passports have been issued. We've also learned that in the last 2 months alone, some 1,500 passports were issued. We have also learned that our two main client countries are China and Russia. So we need to know as a country. We need to be told how many Russians, how many Chinese, and or whatever nationality of persons are in possession of St. Kitts Nevis passports, as they can all come to live and work and or vote in St. Kitts Nevis because they are citizens. They can all purchase any property anywhere in St. Kitts Nevis because they are citizens. And we need to know whither goeth our CBI program. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you, the callers. I want to thank those of you on social media. I want to thank the emailers. And just to let you know, you are the ones who make Straight Talk. And I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liburd, and God's spare, we will connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Be good to yourselves. Let us do our chores. I will, I have to, I must, God's willing, attend church on Sunday. But let's be good to each other, be kind to each other, and love each other. But remember, truth. There's no democracy without truth. The truth is controversial, but let's stick with the truth. Until we connect, my Straight Talk family, remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you gotta believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Remember, whatever your mind conceive, like I said, you just gotta believe. So when you wake in the morning, just thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
When I wake in the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceive, that I will achieve. You better believe I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good.